see this coming, but I don't know if President Trump saw it coming. When we heard the Middle East war, and of course it's reshaping trends now in global energy markets. And so happy to have, well, a female discuss energy. Sometimes it doesn't come easy to see a female discussing these kind of issues, but we have Wemimo Oyelana. She's the Portfolio Director for Africa and Country Director Nigeria as the country at DMG Events. Hi, Wemimo. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you. So, you know, I mean, I just have to celebrate this. When you talk about some of those hard topics, it's like you don't expect the women, you know, to come on, but it's good to have you here discussing energy, global trend, and all of that. So we've seen price of Brent, we saw that 107. WTI is less than 100 now, 94. So I mean, unusually high, obviously. And one of the conversations that has been going on, even at the I think 2 weeks ago, we had the IMF World Bank meeting. Obviously, that's dominated it, and things are changing. Countries are looking for how to escape the Strait of Hormuz and all of that. In Nigeria, do we feel that change, really?
I think in Nigeria, what we're feeling is an opportunity. I mean, I hope that's what everybody feels, because that's what's most apparent to us at DMG and to me. There is a real opportunity here when we realize that the corridors, the energy corridors we relied on so heavily are no longer available, or we realize the fragility of them. Something that we've always had access to all of a sudden ends. So the rest of the world will now start scrambling. These are the suppliers we've been used to. How do we get other suppliers? So for Nigeria, with our vast gas and oil abundance, this is a real opportunity for us to say, okay, how do we ensure our regulatory environment is positive and friendly to business so that we can attract investment? Because, you know, the whole world is looking to attract investment into energy. So how can Nigeria be a favorable market to attract investment? That's number one. How do we ensure that we are putting in the right regulations? How do we ensure that we're friendly? How do we improve our reputation, you know, globally, and create a stable market so that Nigeria can be a credible and reliable supplier for oil or gas? Now, there are some key indicators that make me feel confident. I know that NNPC have been working closely with ONIM of Morocco to develop the African Atlantic Gas Pipeline Project. And that project would enable Nigeria to supply 13 coastal countries within the region, and then also to Europe. You know, so if we're trending in that direction, how do we ensure that more projects like this are coming on board?
Well, I'm glad that you talked about gas, because it does seem like whenever we talk about oil and gas in Nigeria, we're talking about Dangote.
Yes.
So, for instance, last week it was the celebration of Dangote is going to work on, is it 3 refineries in East Africa and all of that. Afrexim Bank is talking about how they are working with Dangote, you know, for, I believe in Namibia, they want to build a tank farm and all of that. So I'm glad that you brought in the aspects of gas, because some people have said that Nigeria should actually be called a gas-endowed country and not just oil, or more gas than oil. And we've seen, I think 70% is what the NNPC told us about the AKK pipeline, which is supposed to start a distribution of gas between Abuja and all of that. But it does seem like, is it too far away from the people, these opportunities we're talking about? Is it too far away from the people, or is it the people are not connecting to the opportunities available?
I believe that the challenges are multi-pronged, right? So number one, we haven't sensitized the masses to the opportunity that gas avails us. And you're absolutely right. Nigeria is a gas nation. Let's not, you know, beat about the bush. It is a gas nation. And why have we not been able to harness the opportunities that gas avails us? And that is one of the key conversations we'll be having at the NOG Energy Week, you know, that's been going on for about 25 years now. We're asking key industry stakeholders, convening them together to say, this is 2026. Nigeria is still at 30% domestic gas penetration with the sort of proven and speculative reserves that we have. How do we get ourselves from where we currently are to creating a gas-friendly market, a domestic gas market? And there are a few issues we need to look at. It's the distribution networks first. How do you get investment into the infrastructure to get this gas and make it available? How do you make it affordable? Then we're talking about gas pricing. How do you make it affordable? How do you make it attractive for investors? if the gas price in Nigeria is not an incentive, and I would rather export as a producer, then we're not competitive domestically. What metrics can we look at? What measures can we take to ensure that we are really utilizing the gas for our domestic base, for the day-to-day usage of the common man, as well as industrialization? These conversations are key. Finding the solutions are key, and then putting together a strategy to implement that. I'm really excited about and I know, again, I'm being very optimistic here, but the gas master plan that NNPC are implementing, again, shows us that we're trending in the right direction. The decade of gas, we're almost halfway through. Again, at the NOG Strategic Conference, we'll be taking stock of what the progress has been, where are the gaps to where we need to be, and how do we really create a domestic gas market in Nigeria.
And the energy has been on for how many years?
Oh, quarter of a century. We'll be celebrating 25 years.
I'm coming to you on that.
Okay.
I'm coming to you on that because for 25 years, you need to be able to tell us what you've been doing. But
Absolutely.
before we go there, when you talk about incentives and investment opportunity in the gas pipeline, could you paint a picture of a reality? Perhaps, I mean, and I'm sure there are other people like me who are watching the program. I am an investor, potential investor. I have the funds. Where do I plug in? What are the possible gains for me? What are the incentives that can attract me, you know, assuming everything is going on right? Yes. I'm talking of the pipeline now.
Pipeline.
Yeah.
So to start from the beginning, you know, it's the environment that dictates whether or not you want to participate in an industry. And with the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act, things are a lot clearer now. The fiscal terms are clearer, and the presidential directives that have come on board to, again, create a stable market. But investors are still a little bit nervous because presidential directives are not law. They could change tomorrow. You know, so how do we ensure that we are instilling that? You have the money, you're looking across Africa, where do you want to go? How do we ensure that the environment is encouraging? How do we ensure that we're transparent as a nation so you're able to see that clear process, and that what you hear from us is what you get from us? That's what we're working to get to. You know, it's one thing to do the work behind the scenes, another thing to also showcase that the work has been done. And as we say, it is what you're going to meet when you come into country. But I've seen a lot of positive things coming out of NUPRC. You know, they've had bid rounds for new oil fields. So again, the nation is turned into producing more gas, producing more oil, a lot more economic friendly, a lot more investment friendly than we've seen in previous years. So there's no better time to invest in Nigeria than now.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys have been talking for 25 years.
Yes.
I wonder if you can point to, you know, the result. Yeah.
Yes. I don't want to speak in isolation. You know, what we do is we convene the industry to say, these are the challenges we have, and we speak to so many stakeholders in building the program. What are the challenges? Where does the shoe pain you? Where is it pinching you? And then we distill a program that captures the key issues that we need to discuss. So it's not just a talk shop. So when you come to NOG, you have the points that we're talking about will rile you up. You have to speak, and you have to make agreements to what you're going to do. So we have a communique we also devise at the end of the event to take stock of what we've spoken about and the progress that's been made. A lot of what we see in the PIA, conversations were taking place at NOG for years before we saw the PIA come into place. Also, the Nigerian Content Development Act, the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act, a lot of the conversations took place to prepare for that, to create that at the Nigerian Content Seminar as part of NOG. Another one I'll give you is during NOG on the stage, it sparks ideas. So at NOG one year, we were speaking about the challenges of investment.
Okay, just hold on just a minute, please. So we need to lead our DSTV viewers to Taraba State at this time. There's the official opening of the Ibi Nwoyo 5-kilometer road in Taraba State. And that's for our DSTV viewers, and for our other viewers, we're still here on Business Morning. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just move to the next platform on YouTube, and then you see us right here on Business Morning. Please go ahead. Apologies for that.
That's fine. So the Africa Energy Bank, the conversation started at NOG to say that we need a bank that is in Africa and that is for Africa. And this is when the conversation was getting.
Is that the Bank of Energy?
Yes, Bank of Energy that's domiciled here in Nigeria.
But we haven't started yet, have we?
We're starting. We've been working. I'll say the bank has been working. Afrexim, Apple have been working to ensure that their funds are available, the processes are in place to ensure, but the bank is already in Nigeria. And those conversations come out of NOG, sparking ideas, people speaking, and then it's also what happens after NOG, not just at NOG. after NOG, the conversations continue. It's not on a stage, behind closed doors, in meeting rooms, and we see tangible achievements afterwards. We see the impact, we see the execution. So we've seen it with policy, and there are other things that, you know, we've seen organizations behind the scenes go from $1 million companies, local companies, now netting 25 million, netting $50 million a year, employing more people, building local capacity, and that's the sort of impact NOG creates.
But you know, the thing is, while we have this very laudable, and I'm glad you said you've seen companies moving from one stage to the other, but when you talk to a lot of investors or potential investors on the continent, even when I attend all the Frexim Bank and AFDB events, the issue of uncertainty in government policy somersaults, it's real. And a lot of people have paid huge prices for that. Do you talk to the government about these issues?
Absolutely. In input, again, devising the program, we have the government input into it, and we have the private sector, and all our panels include government and private sector, so they can speak from both sides. You know, Rome isn't built in a day, is what I would say, and we work very closely with the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, the regulators within the oil and gas industry, and I hope that the legislation, such as the PIA and the Nigerian Content Act, have shown that we're trying to move beyond policy and entrenching some things in law to give that stability, to give that confidence. And it's a journey that we're on, and we're continuing on, you know, having those conversations to make sure that change happens.
And that change happens without rivalry, because sometimes it does seem like African countries are in rivalry. So
I would have said that before.
And that is a hurdle, yeah.
It can be. I think our rivalry is more in terms of jollof rice wars and who owns it.
You know what I'm saying?
But I found that, you know, when things happen, when it's crunch time, when we have wars taking place and people are struggling to get energy for their people, collaboration is the name of the game at this stage. So we're seeing a lot more collaboration within Africa. You know, even at NOG, we used to be a purely Nigerian oil and gas event. Now it's more regional. And why is that? Because the Gambians, the Ghanaians, the Tanzanians, the Ugandans, who you all see at NOG, are saying we need to work together. There's an opportunity here for us to rise. How do we hold hands? How do we collaborate? What are your expertise? What can we learn? What can we share? The Nigerian Content Act is another beacon of light for Nigeria that we've seen regionally, everyone saying, NCDMB, that's the regulatory body that governs it, come and teach us how you've done this. How have you developed local capacity? So the trade continues, the collaborations continue, the partnerships continue, and it's been a lot more collaborative in terms of African and regional partners.
We certainly do hope. I mean, I think we saw one of the results of that last year. Was it last year or 2 years ago? The numbers we had for intra-African trade, even though it's still low, but it's on the increasing side. So, I mean, that gives a bit of encouragement. We do hope to see better numbers for the next year and all of that. But thank you so much for coming on the program, giving us this light of hope. That things will get better. At least things are changing, and we hope that the Energy Bank would change that even better. Wemimo Oyelana, the Portfolio Director, Africa and for Nigeria at DMG Events. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.